Hi, I'm Rosemary. Today I will be talking about my language journey. I'm joining you from Tokyo, where I've been living for the last 10 years. As a very quick introduction, I currently work in the British Embassy in Tokyo for the consular team, which is a team that supports British nationals who get into difficulties or troubles overseas. So today I'll be talking about the languages that I speak, how I learnt them, how I use them at work, how they've benefited me, and we'll share some of my reflections on language learning as well. Okay, so firstly, I'll introduce these languages. Some of you may have guessed from the title screen, but these are English, Cantonese, Mandarin, and Japanese. For anyone who doesn't know, Cantonese is a Chinese language that is spoken in Hong Kong, Macau, and Guangzhou, which are all in the southern part of China. Just so you can know what they sound like, I'll say a greeting in each of the languages. So hello everybody, 大家好,大家您好,皆様こんにちは. So, how did I learn them? And in order to tell you how I learned these, I'm gonna have to tell you my life story, I'm afraid, because language learning is very unique to everyone and often highly personal, as in my case. So I was brought up firstly in Hong Kong, so I spoke English and Cantonese with my parents and around and about in Hong Kong. Then when I was in elementary school, we moved to Shanghai in mainland China, and that school taught us in Mandarin, so I had to pick up a whole new language. But then when I was in middle school, we moved to England, and at my school there, we taught French and German. But honestly, it was a real struggle for me to keep up, and I was far behind other students who had already been learning these languages before I moved to England. And by this point, I had only my mom to speak to in Chinese, so I began to forget how to speak Chinese. And you'd be surprised at how fast you can forget a language, considering how long it takes to learn one. Like a lot of British kids with a foreign language at home, I could understand a lot, but I was not good at speaking and could no longer read or write Chinese. And by the time I was 14, I had an identity crisis, where I needed to improve my Chinese. And there's an element of shame attached to being half Chinese but not able to speak the language. So I know that's not for everybody, but there will be some of you who this really resonates with. So I started self-studying Cantonese and Mandarin from age 15 onwards. At that time, I was interested in learning Japanese. So I started teaching myself that as well. My teachers are really supportive of me and got me workbooks for GCSE and A-level Mandarin and Japanese from other schools to use for my self-study. Though I didn't have the chance to take the exams as they were not available in my area, but I took Japanese studies at university. This gave me the opportunity to take lessons in Korean and Mandarin as well. And using this, I moved to Japan after graduation, where I worked in Japanese companies before joining the British Embassy here in Tokyo. So how do I use them at work? So I mentioned that I work in consular, which is a section of the government that supports British nationals outside of the UK when they need help. So for example, if someone is a victim of crime or is arrested or hospitalized when they're traveling, this means I have plenty of opportunities to use foreign languages as we're constantly talking with the local government. So I'm using Japanese daily. And actually, in my current role, I am unexpectedly also covering South Korea. Especially for the last 2 years, I've been working in Korea regularly. So even just my 1 year of learning Korean at university has helped a lot there. This slide is just an example of the situations and places where I use foreign languages to communicate for work, to keep British nationals as safe as possible whilst overseas. Consular work is extremely varied and exciting, as you never know what the next phone call or email will bring. Okay, so how is it that knowing languages other than English have helped me in my life so far? So obviously making human connections is the biggest benefit, especially for speaking with family members who can't speak English. And I made friends I wouldn't normally have in the UK and overseas too. And I've had nearly every job opportunity in my career so far due to being able to speak foreign languages, and I have used them in every job. You may be surprised to know that in my art-related jobs in Japan, I used French occasionally when I had to research and translate texts about artists like Picasso into Japanese and English. So even the small amount of French I picked up in school in the UK turned out to be really valuable, even when working in Japan. So you really never know when you need to speak another language. Okay, so for my reflections, the first thing is the most tricky is always motivation. It's hard to keep up a language if no one around you speaks it and you have no chance to go to that country. That's okay. Everyone is the same. So you have to find some of the motivation within yourself and you'll be fine. Maybe your grandmother is French, or you love kebabs, or you like anime or martial arts. Find your motivation because languages will be useful at all points of your life, even if you never live outside of the UK. Two, it is a part of your identity and who you are as a person. So this might not be quite relevant for everyone, but if you're someone who has a foreign language at home, it's really vital to keep this up. It's tough living in the UK where everyone and everything is in English, but it is who you are. I really regret not trying harder when I was 10, 11, 12 years old. My Chinese would be so much better, and I will never get that chance back. So it might be a bit uncool and stressful, especially when your parents scold you for using the wrong word or pronunciation. But if you're not careful, one day you might not be able to communicate with your family anymore, and that's just really sad. So remember that languages are not just words on a screen or even just a way to communicate. It's a way to connect with people, history, culture, food, geography, and community. And finally, so maybe you won't ever be able to speak another language completely fluently, but that's okay too. Just even understanding how another language works can be invaluable. You really never know when you might have to use it or who you might meet. Keep your mind open, and if you do try out a new country's food or visit somewhere new, try and learn a few words and a bit of history. When you learn even just a little bit of a language, you learn about the world. So I'll stop there and thank you very much for listening. There may be time for questions now. And if you're interested, this image is of Chidoriga Fuchi, which is a moat that goes around the Emperor's Palace in Tokyo, and it's right opposite the British Embassy, Tokyo, where I work.